Hello. So I'd like to make a video here about a talk I had with my dad recently, where we're both Colorado natives, and we've moved overseas since then for the last 10 years or so. And he mentioned a story of a Colorado school district which has cut its days down to 4, which was shocking, right? And we were kind of confused. What the hell is happening to Colorado that the schools can't even stay open 5 days a week? How could this be happening? We know there's a huge amount of population moving there, but you think that would be a benefit to the school, at least in the midterm after they expand a bit, because these are coming from high-paying jobs, and Denver's exploding. This should not be the end of the school system. This doesn't quite make sense. So anyways, after we were finished talking, I did some research into it to find out what was happening here, and I found this story of a school district in Brighton, right? And these guys explain here that this school district is experiencing rapid growth, and they, for some reason here, are not able to massive growth, mushrooming enrollment growth. So from 9,000 some to 17,000. So, this is a massive growth. Yet with these students, this should have brought in more property taxes, which pay for the schools. So again, it doesn't quite make sense, right? Why would this be killing Colorado, right? But upon further inspection here, we see the old story coming out, which is, we don't need to go over this whole thing at this point, but we see that the school district includes 24 schools and is 38% at risk. We don't know what that means by their categorization. And 52% minority, right? This is the relevant point here, that these schools are not quote-unquote Colorado schools. These are the Latin American immigrants getting dumped off and getting pushed probably out of the city, or just having no place to go in Colorado, coming to fill the job roles that have the low wage job roles which have been popping up in the state for the housing boom, right? A lot of construction and yard work and trash. I've noticed in my recent trips back to Boulder, Colorado, that the manual labor force there, the construction workers, the trash guys, all the yard work, is like 95% Latin American peoples, right? So this has changed drastically in the last 13 years, 2005 or so, since I lived there last time. And these are these kids that are getting put out in these schools, and they cannot afford to fund their own schools, this is a disaster, right? And it's misleading to people. If I wouldn't have looked into this, I would have thought that Colorado is just a failing state, and the Colorado natives are just failing people. And that's not true. These are not Americans. These are not Coloradans. I understand many of these kids were born in America and have the paperwork, right? The government has issued them a document stating they're Americans, but they are not, and they cannot afford to fund their schools like Americans can. Here I pulled out some stats here on the labor force, and this is from this government website, and this is a list of occupations with Hispanic majorities, well, over 40%, right? Many of these are majorities. You can see and this is of the total percent of people employed. This is 2017. So we can see that drywallers, ceiling tile installers, tapers, roofers, this is 50 to 60% of the labor force. These are low paying jobs, right? This is this new demographic, and this has changed the composition of the school districts to the point that they can no longer afford to fund teachers, this is incredible. These people must be they have large families, they're living in small houses, so the property tax is not sufficient to cover their kids. As it was in Latin America, we're seeing the same dysfunction, which has made Latin America unlivable for these people, so they had to come here. And they've, in a short period of time, they have managed to consume majorities of the low-paying jobs, fail to fund their schools, and they will be trapped in this permanently. There's no indication that these Latin American people have been able to get out of this cycle, right? We have their hundreds of years of history back in their home countries. We have coming decades here, and it's already started off so poorly. They're already in intergenerational poverty at this point. You know, if you look at one of my other videos, you'll see that these schools are, not only are these schools not funded, but they are failing. These students are not to the standard of European peoples, and they fail, and their schools are going to fail, and this entire area in Brighton is going to be off limits to us. It's a shame. This school was gifted to them, and it's going to be destroyed now. And this 50% minority at the entire school district, I'm sure, is highly segregated. I'm sure we have, of these 24 schools, 90+% minority, this is going to be Hispanics in these cases. And that is changing quick, right? These remaining white kids that are stuck out there, many of them are going to be the people competing with these jobs, and lower class people. They're not going to be able to move. They're stuck. It's unfortunate, but for the ones who can move, they're going to move. And these schools are going to continue to slide down into failure. And it's a massive tragedy we have going on here. Okay, thanks for listening.